lessons from the lesson. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a live, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your watch list coming in on March 17, 2021, and we need to talk about how to prepare for Powell because a lot of things went down today, and I got 3 stacks that I'm looking at coming into tomorrow, but we have Jerome Powell tomorrow, and if you saw the rates today, it was very, very interesting, especially with us being at all-time highs, but coming into tomorrow's meeting with Powell, a lot of people are pressuring him. It seems like nothing is really going to change, but the attitude from last time we heard from Powell, it's coming into this time, and you can really, really sense it. So I want to go over everything that happened in the market today, even a little bit of yesterday to get a better idea of the bigger picture, but we need to talk about what is going to happen at the meeting. I want to go over some of the main points for you guys so you can watch us on stream. We are going to be live. We will have Powell up there, but if you guys want to know what to look for, I want to go over all of that. So the market's going to move a little bit up until Powell comes on tomorrow, and that's pretty much what is going to be the main part of this week, and a lot of people are saying this meeting is going to be pivotal. Even though I wasn't getting that vibe earlier, it looks like we may have an interesting meeting on our hands. So let us not delay. You guys know what you need to do. Drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. It's the first link in the description, and it is pinned in the comments. We better see you there in the morning. It's free $99. It costs you nothing to join. YouTube.com/the-stock-market. You can post the plays, see the plays, watch the watch list come to life. And yes, if you think your laugh would sound the same in any other language, then yeah, we're the place to be. And the most important thing you need to do, post your watch below. Let us know what you're looking at. Got any plays, comments, remixes, anything. Post them below and source that info. Shout out to Chad, baby. So right off the bat, we are going to stay on this screen to see what happened today. But today was an interesting day, especially as it relates into tomorrow and some of the economic projections. That's one thing that is going to be key for Powell tomorrow. But we gapped up this morning. There was retail sales. It was kind of disappointing. You also got some other data, I believe some building and Fed index or GDP or something along those lines. But the market didn't really take any of it negatively. It came up, hit another new record high. And then as we approached the European close, kind of a lot like yesterday, it started to drop again. And that's when everything kind of started to slip. Now, we closed at this level, but the thing that happened really middle of the day, you saw the market react a little later, but yields started going up. Then there was a surprise bond auction. And I say surprise because I wasn't expecting it. And this moved a lot. TLT moved a lot coming into today. And this is key because coming into Powell, this is kind of even showing you a gauge of pressure. Remember, Powell wants to see a disorderly market or something would need to happen or this situation would need to be different than last time he spoke. So this was very interesting. Rates shot up for a little bit. It was a good auction on the 20-year, but then it eventually slipped and rates came right back up. And then the market slipped with it too. And then you saw the close. Now, NASDAQ still managed to close green. And then you saw even some of the companies that held up throughout the day. Walgreens is a good example. They were really positive, but they did kind of give up there at the end. But you could see how today was really about the bonds and not much happened, but we saw the situation that we really saw last week. Remember, Friday, we were coming off of another record high. Market still managed to stay up. We even closed at those highs, but if you remember where TLT was at, bond rates gapped up that day. TLT hit a low. That means bond rates hit another high. So it was a lot like that day because now you're coming off the second day from hitting a high. Rates are going higher again, but the market's not really budging. So the fact that you have Powell tomorrow now, that is going to be the key. So what do we need to watch for? Because the market could still move. It just has a little bit of cushion, and it really depends on what happens tomorrow or if the bonds end up hitting a level that could get the market to start reacting. But now, as far as the keys and to understand what to look for and what to prepare for, the pressure is really on Powell. Based on what I've already showed you with the bonds kind of moving a little bit, he's not expecting to say anything, but the fact those bonds are starting to move, and then if you even look at some of the headlines, you could even search Jerome Powell and just see how people are talking about tomorrow. A lot of people know what he's going to say, but there's kind of this attitude that this is make it or break it for him when it really didn't seem like that. Or in my opinion, he has just been communicating effectively, and a lot of people expect that to happen. He is going to hammer home home the same message he's been saying. The question is just going to be, does the market finally get it? And if the market doesn't get it, that's when we get into tantrum mode. So the big key that you need to watch for is the overall tone of what Powell is going to be discussing and what he is going to say. This is what makes it so quote unquote pivotal for him, because he has to be able to say that things haven't gotten good enough to change policy. So even though we're at all-time highs and some of this data is coming in, people are revising expectations, the vaccine, the numbers, all of that, even stimulus, he has to be able to communicate that despite all that, they're still going to keep things the same and they're not going to start planning ahead to tighten in the future, because that could upset the market. But then he also has to pretty much say that things aren't getting worse, so they don't have to make changes, and that things are still at a point where they need to keep on the assistance, and that there's no problems just like you saw with yields. Otherwise, that could hint at some dangers with the yields, or that the Fed doesn't really have a control of it. So that's going to be the main thing to watch, is how does he communicate that? Now, another thing a lot of people are going to be looking for, because Powell could probably jawbone his way out of this one if he talks good enough. Again, with the press conference, it might move around a little bit, but he might be able to handle himself there. But now the next thing, people also want to look for GDP, unemployment, and inflation forecasts to change. So a lot of economists and a lot of things have changed so far since they've updated this. So people are expecting that to get revised, and the market may react to this. Think about bonds. So if they come out and raise their inflation target, which is at 1.8% now, and they say, well, here it is, we're at 2%. What does that mean for the bonds, the yields, and how can the market move to that? As well as now, how do they start pricing in unemployment? Those are some of those other objectives, and then GDP in general. And that's because a lot of people have been raising estimates for United States GDP, and the Fed still has it at kind of one of the more lower ends. So that will be something that will come up right when it's released. You should be able to see, and we'll see if that gets discussed during the press conference. And it ties into the next point to even just understand the attitude and what to really watch for. What's really making tomorrow pivotal is the fact that this is going to be the first time that new policy has to explain this whole idea of shooting for average inflation, letting things run hot. This is that new policy the Fed took on only a couple months ago. And now this is the first time Powell has to talk the market through this, because this is what's creating the scenario where things are looking good, but not good enough to change. And at the same time, things aren't bad, but something warranted this change to begin with. So now this is the first time that new policy, we're starting to see some of the effects. So that's why inflation and other things could be going up, or you feel it, you see it with rates. But now Powell has to be able to communicate this to the market. And then we have to see if the market believes him, likes him, gets on board, so on and so forth. But one big worry, and I've kind of touched on it here, is that depending on what he says, people are worried that the Fed could start now setting the stage for 2022. I talked about this on stream. There's the tax plan. There's all of that stuff in there. But now you got the stimulus this year. Nothing has really changed so far. The fact those yields are going up, a lot of people are looking towards what is going to happen in 2022. Or they want to even see if the Fed may talk about shifting something like bond repurchases or anything back to pre-pandemic levels as certain things have recovered. So people are worried, or where Powell could mess up, he could do this inadvertently. If he starts leaning at too much future plans about 2022, and they could try to ask him a question to get guidance out of it, and it starts to seem like they're going to start prepping the stage to get ready to walk back some of this stuff or take over the next step, which could ultimately be hawkish and rising rates and all of that. That is what's going to make this very, very difficult. And like I said, this is where Powell can do something without even doing it. It's all about how he answers this, if he does the little Powell finesse and gets us past there. But overall, bringing this into everything tomorrow, I think the market is most likely going to get disappointed either way if the pressure is high enough. So if those bond yields move a lot tomorrow, if a lot of the headlines and people coming into tomorrow are really kind of demanding Powell do something, or if the market interprets it very quickly, I wouldn't be surprised for him to say the exact same thing. The market interpret it, but they just don't like it, and then they throw a tantrum. I think he could walk the line perfectly, but if the market throws that tantrum like last time, that's what I think happened at last meeting, it's really not going to matter that much. So anything could happen. He may even be able to surprise to the upside. We haven't seen a Powell meeting like that in a while, but Powell never fails to disappoint at some of these meetings. And some people are saying this is critical and crucial. We got our work cut out for us and we know what to look for. So I hope you're ready, but that is pretty much it. So let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, I got 3 different plays. One of them I made today, and one of them you're going to be surprised, but I want to just give you information on it if you wanted to go about it. But the first play that I made today was Airbnb. I think this is a sleeper travel winner like we talked about today, but they really got clobbered, and you saw a lot of those names, the reopening trade names, rotation names from yesterday. They did very good, but then they got really clapped today. But I like the Airbnb. It was holding up a little bit of strength in the morning, but it came down, and this contract really got clapped. I'm even surprised I lost 40% on it that fast. That means we really got caught on the premium, but things did come down quick. They were already weak before, but I grabbed the 310 call for April, or May, excuse me, spent 580. Right now it's worth 315, so it really got clapped, and we saw a lot of different trades like that. I didn't even write that down there, but that Roblox one, I'll go over that when we get to the charts. But the second play gonna be Citi. So now that you're getting the Fed tomorrow, I talked about this earlier this week, they're one of those bank value winners. They responded big last Fed meeting. You saw how the banks move. They usually move in tandem or might even lead a little bit. So I want to watch banks tomorrow after the Fed report, but this is one of those companies. If we see a big reaction tomorrow, I'm going to look at it. And then finally, the ultimate play. This is the one that might surprise you, but TLT. So am I going to play it? No. But if you think this meeting is going to be big, straddle is going to be the move. So this is very simple. It's kind of like earnings, and this is why learning how to price in the option chain is so effective. You can see here, market maker is pricing $1.79, but that's all we want to see is what is the option chain pricing. So this week with the Fed, pricing $2.50 on both sides. What does that mean? That is literally the at-the-money straddle price. So 145 plus 110, you got like 255 right there. Where the option price is closed, it's pretty much saying you're not expecting the stock to move more than $2.50 both ways, because that's the at-the-money straddle price. If they thought it was going to move more, they would charge more. So that would bring TLT to either like 138 on the high or 134 at the bottom. So if you think it's really going to move beyond that, then the idea would be to play both ways pretty much wherever you expect it to go by the end of the week. But that's on the weekly. You could get more time, but now that's on you to check the pricing, because as you see, the premiums do start to go up more as you get some time. So if you wanted to play this even for a month, because those Fridays are going to be really risky, and usually it takes a little bit more time to develop. Those Aprils, that's almost a $5-6 move both ways. So this is on you to price it. If you really think it's going to move big, you think it's going to be expectation, the real question is, where do you think yields are going to go to? If you think yields are going to move X basis points, it's going to affect TLT. You could price that in right there and pick those contracts. But the question is, do you agree with the market maker or not? So the only way these hit on a straddle is if everybody is expecting nothing and then something big happens, or vice versa. And here, doesn't look like the option chains are pricing too much, but it's not pricing in too little. So that is the key with it, but that's how I would go playing it, because that's where the money's going to come from. Because if it does surprise and rates get shot up or down in one direction, maybe Powell fumbles the ball, then that is going to be the move. And I might even wait to hear the press conference. If he did fumble, we may be able to react in real time. So we will see, and hopefully we see you on stream. But those are going to be the main plays. As far as everything else, watch Walgreens. I really like them. They did really good today, but then they dropped here at close, and just pay attention. We were looking at that throughout the day, but the fact they kind of gave up there kind of showed a broader market sell-off, but they were a real winner today. Intel was a real winner. This one was tripping me out. They did very good. Hit new 52-week highs. They were strong in the morning, and they still held up. So even though they slipped by the end of the day, they still managed to close green. So that was very good. Watch Roblox. They hit all-time highs today, and think about it. It's already gone through the criteria now. It's able to move up a little bit. We valued it around like $70. So I looked at it today. Somebody in the chat made an epic call out. There was these $60 puts for April for like $6. So I was like, hey, I might as well sell puts. I looked at them and I waited, and then on this move, they dropped 50%. So I was like, ah, damn. But this still has a lot of volatility, so I'm being patient on it. Again, we've already established our position. Not fully done, but the idea is we've been able to increase it. We got some money on it. So I'm just going to be watching and seeing, just by the fact that they got those options today. It is moving very volatile. In fact, those options can move up and down like that. It's kind of showing something. So pricing and finding that value is still going on. So I'm still going to be watching that. Interesting to see them hold up today. So watch them. Watch Airbnb. Like we said, AAL came down. And what I want to point out here is the difference between some companies that slipped today. These were some of the reopening travel stocks, but you could see Carnival popped up. It did good, but today it dropped about 5%. It was down almost 8% at one point, but you could see it gave back a lot of the gains from yesterday, whereas some of them, they didn't as much. So right here with AAL, you could see it just closed right where it pretty much opened, as opposed to selling off. So keep that in mind, because that's showing you you relative strength, if anything. So I really, really like that. Still holding those AALs. Watch HD. They killed it. You can see they went up. Those leaps are now up 15%, which I'm very, very surprised. This hit 280 and it hit it fast, but you can see the momentum. This is both reopening trade, value trade, if anything. So very interesting to see how they've been moving. Still holding those plays. Watch J&J again, another strong name. Talked about this yesterday. Somebody even brought it up. They said, wow, it looks like the options are really cheap on J&J because they don't move a lot, but when they do move, they do get expensive. So kind of difficult to play, but it has some value. It's just kind of overall risky, but watch them. Watch Vaxart, any of the vaccine plays. I feel like we saw a lot of activity on those today, so I thought those were important. Dropbox held up really, really well up towards 28. That's the IPO level from a couple years ago when it came out. So this is very key. We haven't heard any more rumors since. Just watch how this trades out. Again, it's still above that 26 level. Watch if it breaks there, but if it keeps this momentum, it's good. But pay attention to some of the laggers and leaders today and how they really did move. Again, Dropbox caught my eye this morning as things weren't doing too good and they held up. So watch them. Arquite, same thing. Looked like a lot of them, they did good in the morning and then slipped off, but we're still in that play. I like them. There was an update with UWMC and that one ended up being positive, which caught my attention. So thought that was interesting. Watch ASON. They've been holding up, and I don't know if you guys remember, they were just at like 40 something. This thing is actually moved a decent amount, so it's coming down here. This stock doesn't really get too many eyes. I don't know why, but I like it and I thought it was very, very interesting. I saw in my portfolio they closed up today, one of the very few, so that was interesting. And then finally, Crowd, higher price company. They've moved a lot lately, but they had earnings after hour. Want to look for a continuation. I think they're at an interesting spot, so this is going to be a great one to watch in the morning. If we could get an earnings play, that would be great. And then finally, TLT, baby. The question is tomorrow, how does it move? Does it set another high with the yields? Does TLT keep dropping further? Does the market respond to it? We kind of saw a little bit today and the market then ignored it, but this is a signal of pressure. The more this moves coming into tomorrow, the more pressure on Powell. The more stable, the less pressure. But then again, we saw that happen last time and it still ended up turning into a big day. But overall, you're seeing yields at another high. The market's still able to hold up. Our question is, what yields do we need to see before the market starts reacting again? So tomorrow, it's watching that after Powell, but then the markets could add a little bit more pressure coming into Powell. It will make things interesting and we know what to watch for. So I hope you're ready. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you are healthy, ready to go. Make sure you post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. I need you to remember the small things matter, baby. But the code loves you. I love you. I'm going to see you in the morning. Let's go.